Hey guys, how's it going? So today we are planting dahlias. Finally. We're about a month and a half later than I would have liked to be, but it is what it is, and I'm excited to get them in the ground. We typically have a very long growing season, so I think we'll have plenty of time to still get some beautiful flowers. They may not grow as big as they would have, given an extra month and a half of growing time, but I still think it's gonna work. Last year, I bought some dahlia tubers early on in the season when it was still it was really cold out still, and I put them in the barn and forgot about them, and I think it was July when I put them in the raised beds in our garden, and I got the most beautiful flowers from them. In fact, I used some of the white ones in this glorious arrangement where I had like little baby butternut squash and these big beautiful dahlias. So either way, whether or not I get a tremendous amount of growth out of these or not, I need to get them in the ground. They need to get in the ground, grow a little bit, and then I can dig them this fall, and then hopefully next year we've got this worked out, this space worked out a little bit better to where I can plant them on time. They have already started to grow inside their bags in the boxes. I have a whole bunch. I think I've got between like 230 and 275 tubers, something like that. Let me show you. So this is my dahlia hoard. Big box, and this box back here came from Eden Brothers. That's why I ordered the bulk of the tubers. And there's just a ton of different varieties. I mean, they're all bagged individually. The one benefit, if you want to look at the glass half full, is that there's no denying which direction to plant these tubers. There's no looking for the eye because they're already starting to grow. I'll know exactly which direction to plant them. This box looks much the same right here, and we will put a full list because I don't think I've got like a completely compiled list of all the varieties and quantities and all that yet, but I'll put that together. Floret Flower also sent out some dahlia tubers, which I'm super excited about. And there's a bunch, like a surprising amount in this box. And they're all labeled individually. Look at all the growth, mercy. So just a bunch of varieties for me to try out, which was so sweet of them to send out. In fact, I'm gonna show you that I get a lot of my information, planting information, from Floret's website, and I'm gonna show that to you in a second. I also picked up a couple varieties at the Home Depot of all places because they always display these so early and I can't help myself. Like, they know who they're marketing to. I'm the sucker who buys them in, like, I don't know, February, March. Snow Country and Bluebell. I also have a few bags of Gladiolus bulbs here, which we may or may not get done today. We'll see. It'd be awesome if we could get it all done, but we really do have our work cut out for us here. And those varieties are Alaska and Lemon Drop. I think they're really pretty. I've also got a big stack of Land and Sea compost and Biotone starter fertilizer, our drill, and 5 and 7 inch augers, and the very last thing are some 6-foot T-posts that we just picked up yesterday and some nylon rope. This is going to be our staking system. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out exactly, but I was reading up on Floret's website because so much good information there, and she just said, you can individually stake each dahlia tuber, which is what I typically do out in my garden when I normally plant them, but this is a lot of dahlias. So she said, like, if you're doing a large quantity or a field situation, you can sink a T-post every 8 feet and then run some kind of cord. She uses baling twine. I'm going to use this because I don't really want orange baling twine out here. And then you can just, as the dahlias grow, because you're growing them in a line, you just grow them right along the twine, and then you can just lash them to the twine as they grow. So that's the system we're gonna try this year. So this is what I'm talking about on floretflowers.com, where some of our tubers came from. There's a ton of information about a lot of different flowers, and this is just a really thorough guide, like what you will need, the steps to do it. So it's super helpful. If you ever want to learn anything in depth, I would recommend going to this site. Aaron just got out here. He's gonna help me out today. Primarily pounding fence posts, digging some holes.
What I do.
That's awesome. This is where we're planting them, right here. So this section is where all the vine crops and tomatoes are. High tunnel is where we're going to be storing extra plants that we have by our greenhouse. It's not quite done yet. We need to tidy up the plastic a bit. And then we are going to put all of our stakes in here and hope for the best. We don't have water to this section yet. We'll get that done probably this afternoon or tomorrow. I'll water them in with the hose today. It's pretty easy to plant them in terms of like getting them in the ground. You dig a hole 4 to 6 inches deep. You space them out every 12 to 18 inches. I'm gonna go every 12 inches because that's what our drip tape is gonna be in this section. You amend each area with compost and starter fertilizer. And typically you don't water your dahlia tubers, like if you're planting them earlier, until you start to see growth above the soil level. This soil is super dry, so we will plant them. They do have a little bit of growth on them already, so I'm gonna water them lightly once, and then we'll wait to see some leaves emerge from the ground. So basically, we just need to get after it. Here we go. How are you measuring those, Aaron? To your button? Your second button down? That's perfect.
Is that deep enough?
I think so. I mean,
I'm not putting them super deep.
They technically only needed 4 footers, but I wanted 6 footers because they're more versatile for us for other things. So I don't think I think it'll be fine.
They're not going anywhere. I'm not putting them really deep, but they're not going anywhere.
No, they're not. And they'll have more stability with the string too, I think. So we figured out we're gonna do 7 of these per aisle, or per row, I guess you could say. Spacing them 7.5 feet apart because it worked out for us better that way. Otherwise, we would have been hanging off into the pathway. First one is done, and it looks so professional.
I did a good job.
You did. It looks really good. So we're running a string on the fence. We're counting fence rungs. That's how we're measuring for spacing in between the rows anyway. But we want to make sure to get this as straight as possible. And then I ran the first string at 2 feet and the second string at roughly 4 feet, which might be a little bit tall, but that can be adjusted. We're going to eyeball the placement of the next ones.
Does that look right?
Yeah. It wouldn't be a big deal for me to measure either. So,
do you want to just measure quick?
Just so that it'll annoy us if it's not lined up. I say us, I mean me. Posts in. There are 6 rows total and 7 posts per row, and then 2 lines of string, which might be a little bit too high. I'm not sure. This is all kind of a trial year, so we'll adjust if we need to. We did run water as well, which the water originates, you know, back here where the box is, where we turn on all the other sides of this garden, and it goes right back behind the high tunnel, and then it comes out and runs along here, and then we tapped in with these little couplers, and then we're using drip tape with 12-inch emitter spacing, because that's how far apart we need to space all of our dahlias. And I really didn't feel like it was necessary to show you step by step with the drip tape, because we just did when we did the video up here when we planted some things and finished that drip tape setup. We will link that video down below if you want some more kind of detailed information, but we just wanted to kind of get this all done and set up, because now we can actually dig holes, add the amendments, and get our dahlia tubers planted. I thought that running the drip tape before we actually dug the holes and everything would be easier, because then we'll know exactly where each emitter hole is, and that's exactly where I want each hole for each tuber. So we have very targeted watering. And you know, in all these other sections, Aaron's messing with this section up here, we have drip tape that has emitter holes every 6 inches, so it's a lot more full coverage. But for some crops you need that. For dahlias we don't, because yeah, we're not planting them as close together as we are the other crops. So I think what we're gonna do, and Aaron, you'll have to weigh in and tell me if you think this is gonna work. I think what we should do is aug all the holes first when we can see everything, because I think if we spread a bunch of compost and stuff, some of the tape is gonna get covered up. We aug the holes, and then we can just go along the whole thing and just like dump compost, and it'll just kind of naturally mix in with the soil when we cover up the tubers, as well as the biotone. So aug holes, compost, biotone, tubers.
Okay.
Fill the holes, water. We'll test the water when it's all done. We didn't get the right drill, so we need to go back to the barn real quick and get the right drill so we can start drilling holes. Do you want to bring an extra battery?
Got one right there.
Oh, okay, cool.
What do you do before power planters?
I don't know. A lot of extra manual labor.
We'll plant on this side, right?
Did you tighten the chuck?
No. Probably being cursed from pulling out that sunflower.
I bet you that's it.
That's
karma. It can be a real bugger, Aaron. If you need me to tighten that, you just let me know. Take 2.
How deep?
4 to 6 inches. It's probably great. That's perfect because we can add the compost and such. Oh, you're gonna have a sore back after today. By the time we actually got done planting all the dahlias, which I ended up planting all the dahlias and I had room for the gladiolus, but by the end it was so hot yesterday and I kind of wish we would have taken a picture of my face. It was just covered in dirt. I don't even know how I managed that. I did open one of the dahlia packs too quickly and a bunch of that like peaty stuff that they're stored in just flew right up into my face, and you know when you're sweaty it just sticks to it. So I was a mess. So I decided to just call it a day right as soon as I got done planting, but I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like today, kind of a before shot before the dahlias start to come up. Doesn't look like, you know, tremendously exciting yet, but I'm expecting to see growth really quickly with how hot it is. I'm thankful for our long growing season because even though I'm getting them in late, we should still be good to go. So the first 5 rows are completely dahlias. The 6th row, the dahlias start here and they go until right there. And then the rest of this row are the yellow and white gladiolus. And the way I labeled them is just with these little white labels, and I use a garden marker, which is a specific type of marker my parents' garden center carries actually. I'm sure you can find it online. But it doesn't fade as quickly as regular permanent marker. It works really well. But since I had multiples of each variety, I had 270 or 275 dahlia tubers in the end is what I ended up with after I got them all out. So I put a tag right here. This is where this variety starts. This is Labyrinth. I think I had 4 tubers, and then the next tag is the Cafe con Leche, and that variety goes all the way until where the next tag starts, and so forth. So that's how I did it without having to individually label every single variety. And then later today I'm going to go through just with my own personal cell phone and do a little video of where all the tags are on each one of these rows, just in case like we lose a tag. I mean, it happens, the wind could whip through here and a tag could blow off somewhere and I may not remember where everything's at. So I'll do that. I always either take pictures or a little video so I have something to refer to later on in case my tagging system isn't the best. So now that my tubers are in the ground, a couple of things you want to look out for, I need to be mindful of, is that they do want consistent moisture once they start pushing a little bit of growth. Now, usually when you're planting dahlias at the right time, like earlier on in the season, you don't want to water them at all until you see some foliar growth pushing through the soil, and at that point you can start watering a little bit more because it can lead to tuber rot if you water too much right in the beginning. My situation's a little bit different in that I'm planting so late. The soil is clearly super dry out here, and I was dealing with a tiny bit of desiccation on the tubers because I waited so long. So I did water them in, but just lightly. And I will probably do that a couple of times and they should be fine given our temperatures and how quickly they will probably start to grow. The other things you want to be mindful of are bugs. So if you deal with slugs and snails, that can be a huge issue. Earwigs can also be a huge issue. I'm not really worried about slugs and snails. We're so dry here. We don't usually have that problem very badly anyway. Earwigs though, different story. They're everywhere. So I will be using bug and slug killer, which I am out of currently. We'll put a picture of it up on the screen. I'm gonna go grab some at the garden center today, and I'm going to be applying that on these rows probably pretty consistently throughout the whole season, because I don't want to go to all this, well, money and effort to have them ruined by earwigs, which are the worst. The other thing I'm gonna do, as soon as the dahlias are about a foot or so tall, and I'll probably show you when I do it, I'm gonna pinch them back. So when you pinch a dahlia back, you pinch the central stem down by about like 3 or so inches, maybe 3 to 4 inches, and that helps produce a more dense, thicker plant. It's kind of like when we pinch back our snapdragons or whatever we're growing inside. There are some plants that do just so much better if you pinch them back, because it produces more branches, it produces longer branches and more flowers. You do want to make sure, depending on what variety of flower you have, that that's recommended for that variety, but it certainly is for dahlias. And then the very last thing about dahlias that I have learned is, in terms of how long they last for cut flowers, you usually can get about up to a week or so out of them. When you cut a dahlia, you need to keep in mind that they won't open very much more from whatever stage you cut them at. So you do want to make sure that they're pretty well opened up, but not too far gone, because then your vase life is even shorter. You want to use a floral preservative in the water. You can get that like in big bulk things. I save all the little envelopes when I buy flowers at the store, and they come in those sleeves with the little envelopes. I save those, and I've just got a pile of them that I draw from every time that I cut flowers like that. But we'll probably be showing that in videos as well, because I'm really hoping to do more cut flower arranging and just to show you that process and bring you along, even though like I'm just learning and just practicing myself, but it's just something I really enjoy doing. It's kind of like one of those things you can do to really enjoy your plants. I mean, because they're giving double to you. They're looking beautiful in your garden, then you're bringing them into your home and bringing in some of that green and all that work that you did. You're kind of like enjoying it doubly, I feel like. And it's really therapeutic to just slowly go through your garden and see plants differently. See like what branches you can bring in, what will add a different textural element to your arrangements and such. Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping to do more of that later. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm really glad to be able to share this first step in dahlia production on our new property. And I'm hoping it's a prolific crop, because I would love to call friends and family over just to come cut to their heart's content, and I would love to give some away. So that is the plan. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.